I was home alone for the weekend, my parents having left for a short trip. I didn't mind being alone. In fact, I enjoyed the solitude. But as the night grew darker and quieter, a sense of unease began to settle in. On the day my parents were supposed to return, I found myself eagerly awaiting their arrival. The house felt empty and cold without them. As I sat in the living room, reading a book to distract myself, I heard faint voices outside the front door. Startled, I got up and approached the door cautiously. The voices grew louder, and I could make out the familiar tones of my parents' conversation. Confused but relieved, I reached for the doorknob to welcome them back. Just as my hand touched the cold metal, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from my parents, informing me that they would be arriving home a little later than expected. My heart skipped a beat as realization dawned on me. If those were not my parents' voices outside, then who or what was it? Fear gripped me as I slowly backed away from the door. The voices continued their hushed conversation, growing more sinister by the second. Shadows danced menacingly on the walls, and an icy draft filled the room. Unable to contain my curiosity and terror any longer, I peered through the peephole. What I saw froze me in place. Grotesque figures with elongated limbs and glowing eyes stood just outside my doorstep. Their presence sent shivers down my spine. I stumbled backward, realizing that these creatures were not my parents, but something far more sinister. Panic consumed me as I fumbled for my phone to call for help, but there was no signal. Their voices grew louder, mocking and taunting me from beyond the door. I was trapped, alone, and utterly defenseless. As the night wore on, they continued their eerie charade, their voices becoming more twisted and distorted. Their intention was clear: to lure me out into the darkness where they could feast upon my flesh. Terrified and desperate, I barricaded myself in my room, clutching a makeshift weapon for protection. The hours felt like an eternity as I listened to their haunting calls outside my window. Morning finally arrived, and with it came a glimmer of hope. They retreated into the depths of the forest, leaving me shaken but alive. My parents returned later that day, oblivious to the horrors that had unfolded in their absence. To this day, I am haunted by that weekend alone,